Hello, this is Mohan Kelkar. I want to discuss some of the recent observations from a note by Bill Gates about climate change. I will discuss each of his three conclusions using three slides. Bill Gates, who famously wrote a book, How to Avoid Climate Disaster, in 2021, in which he warned about catastrophic effects of climate change, recently changed his tune in published notes. Mr. Gates discussed three truths about the climate change, which are listed here. The core theme of all these three truths is very simple. Climate change is important, but improving the lives of people is even more important, and that requires energy. Let me elaborate on each of these three statements. For the first statement, I would like to show three graphs related to UN assessment report and how the fossil fuel usage will change in the future. We often hear about catastrophic scenarios, but the UN's own latest assessment report offers a much more grounded perspective. If you look at the UN Assessment Report 6, the extreme scenarios, like the 5-degree plus increase, are highly unlikely. The most likely scenario for warming is an increase in the Earth's temperature between 2 degrees and 4.5 degrees Celsius, with the most probable value around 3 degrees Celsius. Considering that we have already warmed by about 1.2 degrees Celsius, the potential future increase between zero point 0.8 degrees and 2.3 degrees Celsius. This is a serious challenge, yes, but it is not irreversible, imminent, apocalyptic threat that would justify withholding the energy needed to lift people out of poverty. It is no doubt that global energy demand will continue to increase in the future, but the coal consumption, which creates the most CO2 in the atmosphere, will decrease in the future. Oil and natural gas consumption will continue to increase, and wind and solar will increasingly contribute more energy, reducing the carbon footprint in the future. Furthermore, the global economic engine is already becoming cleaner, mitigating the risk even while the world continues to grow. The data shows a powerful long-term trend. The amount of CO2 generated per dollar of global GDP has been continually decreasing over 50 years. This is a process of decoupling. We are getting more economic output for less carbon intensity. This is driven primarily by efficiency, but also by market shifts in fossil fuel consumption, which is increasing natural gas, but reducing the consumption of coal. Temperature is not the best measure of progress. Why? Because temperature is a scientific metric, but policy should be based on human impact and resilience. Focusing solely on a single number, global average temperature ignores the remarkable progress humanity has made in protecting itself. We must measure our success by how well we safeguard and improve human lives, not just by what the thermometer says. This chart illustrates climate-related deaths normalized per million people. In the last century, normalized deaths due to climate disasters have decreased significantly, dropping from approximately 250 deaths per million people about 100 years ago to around 6 today. That is decreased to just 2% of the historical rate. This enormous reduction proves that resilience, driven by prosperity, infrastructure, early warning systems, and better resources, is the ultimate defense against climate events. Wealthy societies are resilient, poor societies are vulnerable. Let us look even closer at health outcomes. This data compares cold deaths versus heat deaths globally. The data shows that globally, higher temperatures avoid more deaths from the cold than they cause from heat. Specifically, Higher temperatures avoid estimated 283,000 cold deaths while causing 116,000 heat deaths. Cold is statistically a far greater killer than heat globally. This is not to say warming is universally beneficial, but it does fundamentally challenge the alarmist notion that any rise in temperature leads only to negative human health consequences. It confirms that impact of temperature change is complex and that our priorities should remain strengthening human health and resilience. There are adverse effects of temperature rise, such as sea level rise and increasing acidity in the seawater. However, many of the perceived effects have not turned out to be true, including increasing hurricane activity and increasing storms, as evident from this graph. This leads us to the third and the most critical tough truth. Health and prosperity are the best defense against climate change. As we have seen, wealth builds resilience. But how do we achieve that prosperity for the billions who currently lack it? The answer is simple and non-negotiable. Energy. A world that is more prosperous, more educated, and healthier is a world that can afford to invest in better infrastructure and be more resilient to natural calamities. The goal must be to move people up the energy ladder. Consider the example of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Back in 1920, it was nicknamed Smoky City. The air quality was terrible due to uncontrolled coal and industrial pollution. Now visualize Pittsburgh in 2020. It is a clean, modern, high-tech city. The remarkable cleanup was not achieved by making people poorer. It was achieved only after people became more prosperous. Once the citizens had met their basic needs, built stable institutions, and could afford to modernize, they demanded a cleaner environment and had the resources to pay for it. This is the environmental Kuznets curve in action. Economic development and energy usage initially degrade the environment, but continued prosperity is the prerequisite for cleaning it up. We have remarkable historical data on energy usage and poverty. In the last 40 years, as the energy consumption per capita increased from 17,000 kilowatt hours to about 22,000 kilowatt hours, the percentage of people making less than $3 per day, the definition of UN poverty line, has dropped from 32% to about 12%. That is a remarkable progress. This graph provides the ultimate data point to tie it all together. It plots the Human Development Index, a measure of life expectancy, education, and income against energy per capita. The chart shows a clear path. As you move along the curve, increased energy usage means a reduction in poverty. The threshold for universal access to clean cooking, universal electricity, and the elimination of abject poverty is around 50 million BTU, or about 15,000 kilowatt per person. Every major developed nation is well beyond that point. For the developing world, for countries like Ethiopia, Congo, and Nigeria, that energy, primarily cheap, reliable energy, is what will eliminate poverty. Our mission must be to provide that energy first. Prosperity and resilience follow, and the ability to solve climate change for the long term will come with it. Thank you. If you like the presentation, subscribe to this channel.